Imagine waking in Kirkenes, Norway, geographically Norwegian yet further east than Istanbul, a short drive from Russia. This highlights Scandinavia's map. Norway controls the Arctic coastline. Sweden and Finland are landlocked. How did this arise? What forces shaped it? And does it matter today, especially with climate change? Through centuries of conflict and diplomacy, Norway consistently held this Arctic territory. Was it defense, maritime focus, or lack of neighborly motivation? The truth is complex. In our era of melting ice and accessible resources, oil, gas, minerals, this division is a geopolitical lottery, potentially reshaping Northern Europe. Norway's persistence likely stemmed from terrain, maritime culture, and perhaps less sustained strategic interest from neighbors in the remote north. The Scandinavian mountains, Scandies, over 1,100 miles long, form a natural fortress separating Norway from Sweden and Finland. Harsh winters, -15 degrees Celsius to -30 degrees Celsius, hinder land access for neighbors, but Norway had the sea. Sailors bypassed mountains by boat, securing exclusive Arctic access, establishing settlements, fishing villages, Sami camps, trading posts, and strengthening claims through occupation and usage. Swedish-Finnish land journeys were treacherous and long. Norwegian sea trips were quicker. Still, why didn't Sweden, a former empire, secure Arctic territory? Settlement patterns and economics offer clues. Demographics show a stark contrast. 91% of Swedes historically lived south-central, 9% north. In Finland, it's 97% south-center, 3% north. Helsinki and Stockholm are on the Baltic, the primary conduit for European-Russian trade. The Arctic offered fewer immediate economic incentives for large-scale settlement or infrastructure investment. Climate reinforced this. Milder southern conditions suited agriculture. The north endured extreme cold and rugged terrain. Nations focused investment where returns were higher, the south. While Norway consolidated Arctic control, Sweden and Finland focused elsewhere, directing efforts towards their more populous, accessible, and economically vibrant southern Baltic territories. History records Sweden desperately coveting an Arctic coastline. After seceding from the Kalmar Union, uniting Nordic kingdoms since 1397, in 1523, Sweden faced an economic problem. Ships heading west passed through Denmark's controlled sound, Öresund, incurring heavy tolls, sound dues. Frustrated, Sweden sought alternatives, including northward expansion, to secure an independent maritime outlet. King Charles IX acted in 1611, campaigning to seize Norway's Finnmark region for direct sea access, bypassing tolls. He claimed Swedish Lapland extended to the Arctic, a claim Denmark, Norway, rejected as baseless expansionism. The resulting Kalmar War, 1611-13, ended with Sweden abandoning Arctic ambitions. The Treaty of Knäred, 1613, while forcing Sweden to abandon its claim and pay indemnity, granted free sound passage, alleviating the main economic grievance. However, Sweden's aspiration for sovereign Arctic access was thwarted. The dream shelved, borders remained dynamic, next reshaped by Napoleon. The Napoleonic Wars profoundly impacted Scandinavia. Sweden allied with Britain, Denmark, Norway with France. Russia annexed Finland from Sweden in 1809, Finnish War. Sweden, seeking compensation, targeted Norway. After Napoleon's defeat, the Treaty of Kiel, 1814, forced Denmark to cede Norway to Sweden. Norwegians declared independence, May 17, 1814, and drafted a constitution at Eidsvoll. A brief war led to the Convention of Moss, August 1814. Norway entered a personal union with Sweden, sharing a monarch but remaining sovereign with its constitution, parliament, storting, government, and borders. This union lasted until peaceful dissolution in 1905. Briefly, Finland held an Arctic coastline. Amidst the 1917 Russian Revolution, Finland declared independence. The 1920 Treaty of Tartu saw the Soviets cede Petsamo territory, granting Finland its first year-round ice-free Arctic port, Leena Hamari. a strategic gain offering a direct link to Western powers independent of the Baltic, enhancing geopolitical independence and economic opportunities. Petsamo offered more than strategic access. It held significant nickel and copper deposits. Finland invested considerably, building the seaport and Arctic Ocean Highway. The Kolosjoki nickel mine, modern Nickel, Russia, developed with international investment, became one of Europe's largest, supplying roughly 10% of global nickel demand by the late 1930s. Petsamo became economically crucial, symbolizing Finland's Arctic aspirations. Yet tragically, this burgeoning dream was violently curtailed by World War II. World War II placed Finland in an extraordinarily difficult position. After repelling Soviet invasion in the Winter War, 1939-40, losing territory, Finland controversially allied with Nazi Germany in the Continuation War, 1941-44, primarily seeking to reclaim lost lands. Meanwhile, Norway fell under German occupation. As the war turned against the Axis, the Soviet Petsamo-Kirkenes offensive, October 1944, conquered Finland's Arctic territory while simultaneously helping liberate northern Norway. The 1947 Paris peace treaties formalized Finland's permanent loss of Petsamo to the Soviet Union. The valuable nickel mines fell under Soviet control. Finland's brief chapter as an Arctic nation ended abruptly, solidifying Norway's coastal monopoly once more. This final border adjustment largely set Scandinavia's modern map, preserving Norway's unique geographical advantage. Unlike its neighbors Sweden and Finland, both EU members since 1995, Norway twice rejected EU membership, 1972-1994, primarily driven by concerns over maintaining national control over extensive maritime resources, especially fisheries vital to coastal communities. Adhering to the EU's common fisheries policy was unacceptable. But fisheries are just the start. Norway possesses vast North Sea and Barents Sea oil and gas reserves, discovered from the late 1960s, making it a major global energy exporter, fourth largest gas exporter. This grants significant geopolitical influence, as Europe depends on its reliable energy supplies, supplying 48% of Germany's gas in 2024. Much exploration occurs north of Sweden, Finland. Had they secured Arctic territory, they might control parts of these lucrative resources. The immense wealth generated fuels Norway's government pension fund Global, over $1.4 trillion, the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, providing immense financial security. Despite non-EU status, Norway maintains close economic and political ties through the European Economic Area, EEA, granting access to the EU's single market and Schengen membership, allowing frictionless borders. Its vast resources provide ample negotiation leverage. Norway's strategic advantage grows further with accelerating climate change. The Arctic region is warming roughly twice as fast as the global average, causing dramatic sea ice decline. This has profound implications. Firstly, geological surveys estimate that approximately 22% of the world's undiscovered conventional oil and gas resources may lie beneath the Arctic Ocean. As melting ice makes previously inaccessible areas more reachable, though exploration remains challenging and costly, Norway is positioned to potentially find and exploit new reserves within its maritime domain. Secondly, melting ice is opening new potential shipping routes. The Northern Sea Route, NSR, along Russia's coast could significantly cut Europe-Asia sailing distances by up to 40% compared to the Suez Canal. While still facing challenges, experts predict significant Arctic shipping volume might utilize these routes by 2050. Major powers, notably China, show keen interest, investing heavily in ice-capable vessels. This evolving landscape positions Norway influentially in crucial international discussions on Arctic shipping governance, environmental regulations, resource management, and security arrangements. As a founding member and host nation of the Arctic Council, Norway is a leading voice. Sweden and Finland, while also Arctic Council members, lack direct Arctic Ocean access and thus participate from a more peripheral standpoint on maritime issues. Beyond geopolitics lies the crucial perspective of the indigenous Sami people. Traditionally nomadic reindeer herders, fishermen, and hunters, the Sami have inhabited northern Scandinavia, Sapmi, for millennia, long before modern borders were drawn across their ancestral lands: Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia. Norway's sovereign control over the Arctic coastline significantly impacts Sami communities whose culture and livelihoods are intrinsically tied to these lands and waters. Large-scale resource development projects, mining, oil, gas, wind power, and potential shipping routes pose tangible threats to traditional Sami territories, reindeer migration routes, and fishing grounds, leading to complex land-use conflicts and concerns about environmental degradation. Had Sweden or Finland controlled parts of the coast, the specific legal frameworks affecting Sami rights and consultation processes might have evolved differently, given historical variations in policy between the Nordic countries. Consider alternate historical scenarios. Had Sweden successfully seized Finnmark or Finland retained Petsamo, their approach to EU membership might have been more cautious, mirroring Norway's emphasis on resource control. Their NATO standing would also be enhanced. For Finland, retaining Petsamo offered economic benefits, nickel, and reduced reliance on Baltic routes. Sweden might have developed a less Baltic-centric identity. Instead, Norway, despite its small population, punches above its weight internationally, balancing energy production with Arctic environmental protection. Will these borders change again? Unlikely. Contemporary Scandinavian relations are exceptionally amicable. Critically, following recent accessions, all three nations are now firmly anchored within NATO, reinforcing regional stability and diminishing intra-Nordic disputes or external aggression altering borders. While potential pressure from an assertive Russia remains a concern, NATO's collective defense serves as a formidable deterrent. As climate change transforms the Arctic, Norway's geographical advantage arguably grows. If northern sea passages become major shipping arteries, Norway's strategic role could solidify further. However, Norway faces the significant long-term challenge of transitioning its economy away from fossil fuel dependence, necessitating innovation to cultivate sustainable economic engines. Ultimately, this map quirk narrates a compelling saga of geography shaping destiny. The imposing Scandinavian mountains separating Sweden and Finland from the Arctic Ocean represent one of modern European history's most consequential boundaries. Its presence dictated differential access to vital marine resources, shaped divergent national strategic orientations, maritime versus continental Baltic, and fostered distinct economic specializations. From the Sound dues sparking Sweden's failed northern gambit centuries ago to the immense petroleum wealth underpinning Norway's contemporary prosperity today, the recurring theme is clear. Privileged access to the sea, particularly sovereign control over the strategic Arctic coastline, has consistently proven a defining factor in the divergent historical fortunes and geopolitical roles of these Nordic nations. Was Norway simply destined by geography to control these increasingly valuable northern waters? History rarely offers simple answers, but the interplay of geography, economics, conflict, and diplomacy clearly favored Norway's enduring hold on the Arctic coast.